think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Chad Stebbins from the Institute of International Studies, and it's my pleasure to welcome our guest speaker for this morning, Michaela Wallin, who is an executive with H&M, the Swedish retailer in New York. She's originally from Sweden. She's been in the United States nearly 4 years. There's a biography of her in your program, but I would read that she is a graduate of the European Business School, Harvard University, and Stockholm University. So very impressive academic credentials. And I'm sure many of you have visited our H&M store at North Park Mall. It opened exactly a year ago. And I can remember all the excitement and the disbelief, really, that Joplin was getting an H&M store. And I don't know if you'll have a chance to visit and check them out, but Michaela is giving 2 presentations, this one and then one at 10 o'clock. If you didn't scan in your ID when you came in, please do so on the way out. Sometimes your professors will notify us and they'll ask if you attended a certain presentation, and if you scan in your ID, we can look that up. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Michaela Wallin.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me. This is my first, do you hear me well? Okay, good. Let me know if I become too loud. This is my first visit to Missouri, and I haven't got an opportunity to see that much of it yet, but I am very excited to be here. And I'm also very excited that there's a Nordic semester here. I got actually approached by Chad in February already, and I was asked by actually a colleague in Sweden that I used to work with if I would be interested in joining you guys in talking about partly Sweden, cultures, but obviously what I do on a regular basis, which is work for H&M, and I do a lot of lectures on sustainable buying. So today we will have a lot of focus on sustainability. And thank you, Chad, for the academic statement there. It's quite interesting to be on this side. I've, for the longest time, been on your side of the stage, and I would never class myself as an academic person. I always wondered, what are these classes for? I need to get out to reality. And sometimes I still think that way. But yes, I'm very grateful that you guys are here and are listening in today. So the first session today will be on H&M, and the majority will be on sustainable buying. I will save some time afterwards for your questions, but of course, if there's something you want to know, just pop in some questions during the time as well. Brilliant. I wanted to give you a little background because it is the Nordic semester and theme. I've heard you've got a lot of Sweden inflation. I've heard it's been ABBA, it's been a man called Uwe in the movies last night, and I'm joining in that choir. I'm also from Sweden. I am more particular from a little island somewhere here close to the Atlantic Ocean. So I Google mapped it myself, so you got a little bit of an idea of where I'm at. That island has about 5,000 people, so smaller, much smaller than Joplin. For me, this is a big city. And I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot with H&M, and I am very happy to continue with that. So this is my hometown. Yeah, about 5,000 people. There is a high school. So this is where my academic skills started. Yeah, as you can see, it was more focused on fishing than anything else. with that being said, always sight high. You never know where you will end up. Currently, I'm working for H&M, and my current role is the head of North America's logistics controlling, which includes the US, Canada, Mexico, and Colombia. And I'm in charge of securing that we have a profitable and efficient logistics, which obviously today is very, very interesting. But I started off as a business controller in Stockholm. And I started off in the buying office. We have about 3,500 people working in our buying office in Stockholm. That is designers, buyers, controllers, such as myself. Controlling in the H&M word means a little bit different compared to the US word. We don't do accounting. We're more like an internal consultant. So we help them analyze the data that we utilize when we do our buying and our design. An example could be, I used to work for children's clothing. So I would support the buyers in distributing the budgets. If we saw, for example, that the trend said that knitwear was going to be much bigger, I would help distribute more money into knitwear and maybe take money from trousers, for example. I would also help them with the analysis of seasonality, like in China, the Chinese New Year, that we shouldn't buy as much white colors to China because it's a funeral color, rather buy red, and so forth, so forth. I could look into what kind of nuances of pink should we be buying according to our customers. So that would be my task, to kind of steer and set the strategy, create a framework, how much tops versus bottoms, etc. What's the size curve should look like in the US compared to Egypt. It's not that different, actually. So quite a broad, extensive area. Then I shifted out to sales. So I left Stockholm after 3 years and did a sales controller role. And this is where you focus much more on optimizing sales, product placement, training the management in how to be more profitable, and that could be reducing costs. A big factor in this is sustainability, because very often cost and sustainability can interlink. So I did that for 2 years in London, and then I moved over to the US, started off here as a sales controller as well. Bit of a culture change, to say the least. We've only been in the US market for 10 years. We have opened, during those 10 years, 500 stores, but we opened 420 of them the last 7 years. So we have been opening a store and a half a week, statistically, for the past 6 years. We've grown from 3,000 to 30,000 employees within those years. So if you could imagine a 75% internal staff turnover on that, mainly because people are getting new opportunities, 4 out of 5 people are always new. So if you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again, you have to. That's a part of being an extreme expansion organization and constant improvement. So how do you then maintain the culture that once started there in Stockholm about, 55 years ago? How do you maintain that kind of values that we are based upon? You do just that. H&M has a foundation in 7 values, and they are all incorporated here in the logo. As you can see, it's keep it simple, straightforward and open-minded. We are one team. We believe in people, constant improvement, cost-conscious, and entrepreneurial spirit. We've had these values incorporated now for about 11 years. And every year we come back to them and we realize the importance to constantly remind ourselves about this is the corporate values. the business idea has always been the same. We did do an add-on about 7 years ago. The original, since 1947, is fashion and quality at the best price. What we added on is in a sustainable way. We realized, obviously, that fashion retail is not a sustainable company. It's not a sustainable way of living. We need to take a much, much bigger responsibility as a corporation. And H&M started this journey about 15 years ago. And I'm going to talk you through a couple of the points today that we are doing. But it's very important to keep in mind here that fashion retail today is not fully cyclical. Just as most of us aren't fully cyclical in what we do. We take more from nature than we give back. But the aim and the goal has to be to close the loop. And that's what H&M is aiming to do, to make sure that every garment has a full life cycle and then comes back into a new life again. But obviously you need a lot of help with that, and you need to be extremely humble for the impact that the environment has, or the impact that we have on the environment throughout this time. And especially with the expansion growth that the company have. It is not only H&M that is a part of the H&M group. There are several other brands that goes under this umbrella. These are a few of them. We've already added another 3 companies this year, which is Arket, Nyden, and Co-op. And these are very much targeting second-hand and full transparency of every single item in the store. So you as a buyer can track your garment and know exactly where it's been done and who has been doing your item in particular. We talked a little bit about H&M and the size of it. It's one of the biggest retailers in the world currently. Its head office is in Stockholm, and that's the head office. That's a global head office for buying, IT, marketing, sales. The only thing that is not there is production. Production sits in Shanghai. We're currently in 59 markets. We are in 48 markets online. We've gone from when I started on the online actually, believe it or not, it was mail ordered. We have people basically sending things in on a piece of paper. That was 8 years ago. We were then in 5 markets online, and we're now in 48 markets. Online growth is much, much easier. The barriers are smaller. It's generally updating the language, but of course, legal appliances as well. We just launched in 5 new markets, 2017, Bolivia being one of them. And then currently we have 18 production offices around the world. These are mainly around Asia and in Africa. We do not have a production office in South America yet. This is an idea of the expansion. This is, I took away 47 because you can imagine it out here somewhere. This is from 74 up to 2013, and currently we have a $25 billion turnover in the company. So with this growth, with this expansion, comes responsibility, and by being one of the biggest retailer comes an even bigger responsibility because you are a huge stakeholder in the world. And We have a rather large sustainability department. They are currently, I think, 800 people. Most of these are 400 people that are auditors that works within the production offices to follow up on our suppliers. And then we have a portion of it in Stockholm who works with our strategy in sustainability, and we work a lot with external people who are basically are experts in the area. We've also launched something similar to you probably heard of the Nobel Prize. Yeah, some of you in economics. Yeah, we're doing something similar but for textiles. So basically we nominate 5 companies throughout the world for the most innovative textile idea, and basically then that company will earn a prize money that will be utilized to expand their business idea. Majority, so out of the 5, there's a voting, so the people gets to vote who's going to win, which is different from the Nobel Prize. So the most popular that's been winning lately is the companies that are able to extract fibers from food. Those are the most popular companies lately. But there are 3 key ambitions within H&M that we work towards, and it's 100% leading the change. It is 100% circular and renewable, and 100% fair and equal. We will talk a little bit more about fair and equal because it's quite complex, especially within production. There are quite aggressive goals within H&M, and there's a fair critique against, is this actually doable? But we see it as we have to have sharp goals. We do not have time. Nature and the environment does not have time to wait for us to act accordingly. We need to be super aggressive. So our aim by 2030 is to have 100% of our garments to be recycled or other sustainable materials. You can see last year we managed to take 35% of our current garments are made out of sustainable or recycled material. Most of you are not aware of that when you buy at H&M. Or are you? No. How do you then get to this goal? How do you get to having 100% of your assortment coming from recyclable or sustainable material? Obviously, it has to start with the people who creates. So every year, there's a huge training program for all the buyers, all the designers, on how to find and resource the latest sustainable material, as well as recyclable. Every single buyer, when they ask for a quote, has to ask for a sustainable option. What is the price in organic cotton? What is the price in better cotton, etc.? And our suppliers are very much aware of this now as well. So you have to start from the get-go. Currently, we are the biggest buyer in the world of better cotton, and we will talk about shortly about what is better cotton. And we're the second biggest buyer in the world on organic cotton. The biggest buyer is Walmart, surprisingly. There's a reason why we've also shifted more towards better cotton. There are some pros and cons with organic cotton versus better cotton. Anyone who knows what's the negative impact of anything organic? Any ideas? What could be negative?
It's more expensive.
More expensive? To a certain extent, yes, because you need more land to resource it. But the biggest problem with organic is water. It takes much, much more water than what non-organic plants or produce utilize. And the number one problem in the world right now is not, fertilizing or so forth. It's water. It's shortage of water. So you need to be very mindful when you do certain, because H&M was very much heading, we need organic cotton, we need organic cotton, we need organic cotton. And then we ran out of farmers who did organic cotton. And then you have to ask yourself, why? So there's several reasons. Organic cotton, there's a huge entry barrier. The number one thing is that the land needs to be cleaned, and that usually takes 10 years. And during that time, the only option is now, which didn't exist just 10 years ago, is better cotton. So there is a transition time that we need to take in consideration. There's also, as we said, you need more land because if we take cotton, bush won't carry as many cotton balls on it, as well as obviously, it won't carry the same. The fiber will be the same quality, but you won't get as rich amount on each plant. So that's the problem. You need a much larger piece of land to grow organic cotton. So a couple of things had to happen, and this is where the Better Cotton Initiative, which is an organization which is partly founded by H&M, came up. Because we realized there needs a lot of training on how to also reuse water, recycle the water usage. That was a big thing. We need to educate our cotton, both pickers and plantage owner, on the impact of utilizing fertilizations and so forth. So a huge training program had to come into place, but there also needed to be a promise, an incentive to turn over to organic cotton. Therefore, there's a need for better cotton. So, is it only H&M that is responsible for the life cycle of the garment? No. We are. This is exactly how much we are responsible for the life cycle of the garment. 36% of the garment's impacts on the climate actually comes from us washing it, drying it, and ironing it. So I'm asking you, be mindful of when you're washing your laundry. Low is the new high. What we see is that a lot of us utilize, and sorry, I'm going to use Celsius here, but we turn it up on 60 degrees when we actually could have washed it on 30 and 40. Nowadays, we're not out in the fields as much as we used to. So generally, our garments are not as filthy. Therefore, you can do smaller cycles on a lower temperature, and you will have exactly the same outcome. In order to help our customer, we added in the Clever Care label. And this is to help instruct the customer on how to take care of this garment in the best way. So a little bit of guidance. Now we come into a complex part, which is working with suppliers and having a good overview and collaboration with our suppliers. H&M, as I said, has been around since 1947 and have a very long relationship with most of our suppliers, but of course we have grown rapidly. What we do is we basically give our suppliers different grades depending on how long we work with them and their results. So we have platinum, which is 15 plus years. We have silver, which is basically 5 to 15 years. And then we have brand new, which is suppliers that we work with up until 5 years. And we spread the auditors accordingly. So as an example, we made 2,646 audits at our suppliers, and we interviewed over 9,000 garment workers. So picture this. You're an auditor working for H&M. You travel about 300 days a year. You enter a factory in Bangladesh that generally has 10,000 employees. And you are going to find out if someone is underage that works in that factory. You generally start off with the paychecks. And there's no system for this. They are all on paper. So you have to start off with going through the paperwork to secure that that is in place. But obviously, a huge portion of this is the interviews. Making sure that and educating our garment workers on their rights and also their environment, the importance of safety. This is a huge win for us. It might not look that big, but 100% of the factories that we work with in Bangladesh have now conducted democratic elections of worker representatives. I don't know if you've been a part of, I know some of you study international economics, and I don't know if you've been aware, but Bangladesh has actually recently increased their minimum wage. A huge problem that we had in Bangladesh was the fact that there were no unions. It doesn't exist. So we realized that they are not being paid fairly. They are being paid too low, the workers. The problem that we get into is that we go to the owner of the factory. Generally, the Chinese are big stakeholders. And you ask him, can you please pay your workers more? Sure I can. And you pay him more money. Are you certain he's going to pay his employees? No. That's the problem. The only way to be able to pay the workers in Bangladesh more was to get up minimum wage, which was way too low. And therefore our CEO had to meet with the president in Bangladesh to secure that this needs to be top of the agenda. And this is where a lot of companies are joining in. Gap is a good stakeholder in this as well. They're doing a lot of work on this area. And a lot of the retailers in the world realize, we need to work together on this in order to create change. So the fact that we now, 2017, actually have representative for the workers, plus that we increased minimum wage in Bangladesh, is huge. Still, shopping at H&M, we are not aware. Anyone that knew about Bangladesh increasing minimum wage? I've checked this a couple of times. There's very few people that go, yes! Okay. I mentioned that we, in order to have complete transparency, we have a list of all of our suppliers that we work with currently, published on our website. Obviously, it's not great for competition because they can obviously be, it's very attractive for our competitors to go to an H&M supplier because we set a lot of ground rules when we start working with a supplier. One of them obviously being recycle their water. So the supplier needs to take the investment cost in adding in equipment so they can recycle their water. But of course, they need to take that investment cost. We can guarantee them a certain amount of work or pieces throughout the year. But with that being said, we can't guarantee it for all foreseeable future. So it is a good thing that we see that other suppliers are coming in as well. So pros and cons. Over 700,000 textile workers has been educated in their rights as garment workers. This has also been a huge opportunity that there's not been an awareness of what rights do you have as a garment worker. So this is something that is ongoing and that our auditor does in the sustainable department, in our production offices. Equality. So H&M, actually 78% of the group or workers that work within H&M are women. And this needs to be reflected within the management as well. So currently 74% of all managers are women and 56% of the board are represented by women. Obviously we'd like to see 50-50 in all stages. So guys, feel free. Electricity. Obviously something that impacts environment greatly, and this is a huge goal, and it is on every single level. I can tell you, it didn't matter if I was in the buying office, if I was in London, or if I'm in a support office or a warehouse, you turn off the lights behind you. You do not take or turn on the escalator, you walk up the stairs. There's a mindset of being mindful of nature. We can utilize those resources elsewhere. When I worked in sales, I usually told the sales team that 1 hour of escalator equals 50 Starbucks coffees. So that's how we try to change the mindset on how everyone can contribute on a daily basis. Currently, 90% of our products are going by sea or rail. We are capping our air as much as possible. Anyone has any idea why would you like to air things in? You get it faster? Yeah, of course you get it faster. And in fast fashion, you want to be on it as quickly as possible. Sarah right now is the fastest turnaround. They're about 4 weeks from idea to in-shop. That's impressive. We are around 6 weeks from idea into in-shop. We mainly do this in Europe. We don't do it as much to the US. That is because we want to avoid flying things in. And also our fastest market is Turkey in production. So generally what we do is if we see a trend that let's say we missed a trend. Let's say we missed yellow is the latest and we don't have anything yellow. We've had prepared the buying office or the production office in Turkey and then basically hit the button and say start making the yellow sweater, and then that will be out in stores within 6 weeks. So that happens quite often. So as a controller, a business controller, you would make sure that you saved a certain amount of your budget to do these kind of quick buys, as we call it, just to be in line with the fashion and what the customer wants. Plastic. Obviously, recyclable plastic is super important to utilize. We have way too much plastic out there. Fun fact, this dress is actually made out of plastic bottles, and we used about close to 8 million plastic bottles in our production. So recycle those plastic bottles. We can eat them. Shopping bags. Also very important. Here we've had a little bit of an situation with a lot of markets wants to go over to paper bags instead of plastic, which is a very good thing. The only problem is there is no good way of making paper bags today. So actually the production of paper bags is tougher on the environment than utilizing recycled plastic. But that is recycled. If we would never have come up with the idea of plastic, paper bags would have been the obvious option. But currently it is actually more efficient to utilize recycled plastic. This is a big goal for H&M. We want to be 100% recyclable. Currently, 94% of our waste in all of stores, offices, production, all of the organizations that we're in are recycled. We are at 6% landfill, which is not good enough. And we are targeting to secure that that comes back into recyclable again. We have installed recyclable or recycling stations in all of our stores. That is about 5,000 stores around the world for everyone to recycle textiles, any textile that is. And we actually managed during 2017 to recycle 17,000 tons worth of garments. So bring in those Macy's bed sheets and you actually get credit in the store if you do so. So definitely do that if you can. A lot of countries are brand new to the idea of even recycling textiles. So for us to have these stations is quite an educational part as well. Here is the water part that we talked about. So the system that we set in place for our suppliers to recycle water has actually helped reduce the usage of 7.8 million square meters of water. Just to give you an idea, how much water do you think it takes to make one pair of denim? How many gallons? We have to go up. 10,000 gallons of water. We're not talking raw denim here. We're talking about the majority of the denim that everyone is wearing in here. The one who has some stretch marks on or distressed items. They need to be washed over and over and over again to get the right finish. Imagine if all that water would just go straight out. There's a lot of things you can do step by step. But water, especially in Bangladesh, as it looks like right now, Bangladesh will be water scarce within 15 years. So we definitely need to step up the game here. And then obviously it's about giving back to the society where you're in. We get a lot of help both from our customers but also within H&M Foundation. So last year we gave back $11.6 million. We often give back to areas. Myanmar is a huge area that needs support and help right now, which has been one of our main focuses for this year. But we try to give back to the area, especially where people have it the toughest, and that is often around our production areas. So we do a lot of local initiatives there. But of course, we also have a lot of local initiatives here, also in the US. And the stores are asked to utilize their entrepreneurial spirit here to give back to their local communities in any way or form that they can. This is not a charity, but for example, H&M is very keen on the right for everyone to vote. I hope you voted yesterday. So everyone got a paid hour to go vote yesterday. Super important. It all bounces back to be fair, equal, transparent. And obviously this year has been rocky for H&M. We had a really tough situation in the beginning of the year where we had a sweater incident. I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but it was very much not in line with H&M's standards. H&M is a very diverse organization with a lot of people from all over the world. This definitely was something that H&M has been taking to heart and created a brand new diversity department who is working solely on educating both staff and all of our suppliers that we work with the importance of diversity in every single step of what we do. So, yes, when you're the biggest, you also have to be the nicest. It's just the way it is. Questions on H&M or sustainability, or I know you're all in economics and you're probably thinking, how the hell do they afford this? But the thing is, you cannot not do it. That's the thing. And it is a fine line. You've probably taken some marketing classes. You've probably heard about greenwashing. And as I said from the start, retail is not a clean market. We are not 100% cyclical. We need to be humble to that. We need to be very open for that. But we also need to dare to take on these challenges and set high goals. Any questions?
Sears and Penney's have been closing so many stores in the United States, but H&M is on an aggressive campaign to open bricks and mortar stores. What makes H&M so successful where these other stores are falling off?
It's much more about equilibrium. So Sears, Macy's, Gap, etc., they have over 2,000 stores in the US. H&M has just gone up to 500. So obviously you need to find yourself in the market. I think we were lucky with the timing, that the fact that obviously Amazon is coming in and taking a lot of the online portion of things. But what we're seeing is that Macy's and Sears, well, maybe Sears, but Macy's and Gap and so forth, it's not bad business ideas. It's just that the US has the most sale square feet in the world, and it's no longer needed. So we need to find an equilibrium. And for us, we're reaching it by getting out there, and they need to reach it by condensing. So I think it's time in the market and where you position yourself. And not saying that H&M's business ideas is so much better, or that Gap's or Macy's is so much worse. It's just that they are too big. Their uniform is too big at the moment.
What kind of energy and cost are needed to recycle some of these materials?
It's so basically the way. So for example, if I take the garments that we utilize, so what we do is we utilize the circle that we already have. So the boats that are shipping are then shipping the recyclable goods back. So we close the loop that way on the energy portion, because these boats have to go back anyway. But percentage-wise, it is much less energy utilized to recycle than to produce new. We're looking at about a 30% compared to if we do products from the get-go. But a big product or project right now, because currently we can only utilize 20% of the recyclable textiles directly into the textiles industry. Most of it gets cut up and utilized in car seats, mattresses, and so forth. But that's where these innovative companies now have been able to create a, not to be too detailed, but a protein to protect the cotton fiber as well as the polyester. And that's a huge project that is ongoing right now in Bangladesh on how can we recreate the cotton fiber as well as the polyester to create new garments. But yes, it's better, but it's not yet as good as we want it to be.
Your company seems to be concerned about fair pay, and workers' rights, and safety, which is very good. Why do you not reward economies or governments that provide that for their workers, as opposed to going to places that don't?
Which is it's a really good point. The reason why, so for example, it's hard to say that we're not consciously doing so because we're trying to grow in sales in most of these countries. When it comes to production offices and production, it's obviously currently the tailoring is the cheapest in Bangladesh, and it is the cheapest in Cambodia. And this is a question where do you plug out and decide to keep it in Sweden or in Turkey, for example, or do you try to make it better where you are? And that is a constant back and forth. And I don't have a direct answer to your question of whether or not should we shift all of our production offices to... the only thing we can see is, for example, the development in China, where we had most of our production 30 years ago. And the situation in China at that stage was really, really tough as well. China is now taking on all of the, everything is automized now in China, for example, so they do all the textiles and everything with, and then they ship it to the tailoring in other countries. So without giving a direct answer, I believe it's because we see that we can support the economies to become better. But obviously there's a financial interest in it as well. So yeah, not a direct response, but that's what I would see that we're doing at the moment.
So it's strictly cost. So whenever they moved all of the jobs to lower cost, now you're wanting to reintroduce equitable pays. So you basically...
Well, we haven't reintroduced equal pay. It hasn't been there at the moment. We need it to come. But it's more the fact that, for example, our original production center was China. So it's been reasonable to utilize Asia as a market. We've been trying to continue, for example, in Turkey, Albania, and so forth, and they're up and coming. So it is spreading out, but currently Asia is the biggest market for production of textiles. Yeah, but it's a fair question, absolutely. Any other questions?
We are out of time.
We are out of time. Alrighty then. Thank you, guys.